Yo, what is up the 12s? You already know the Seahawks are cooking something special this offseason? But hold up, because things are about to get real spicy in the Emerald City. We are talking about massive roster shifts that could change everything you thought you knew about our depth chart heading into next season. If you bleed blue and green and want to stay updated on every single bomb dropped in the Pacific Northwest, you gotta hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications, because we are building a dynasty here, and you cannot miss a beat today. Drew Lock is officially the name on everybody's lips right now as the Seahawks face some brutal financial decisions that could send our backup gunslinger packing before June 1st. Look, we all saw him step up and become a Super Bowl champion in his lone season back in Seattle while learning under a solid offensive system, but the cold, hard truth of the salary cap is hitting hard. Lock is currently entering the second year of a $5 million deal, and the front office is looking at those numbers with a magnifying glass. If the Seahawks decide to cut Lock before June 1st, they would only face a tiny dead cap hit of $500,000 while saving a massive $2.25 million this offseason. This move would not just give the team some much-needed breathing room in the budget, but it would also allow Lock to go out there and actually contend for a starting job or a bridge quarterback role elsewhere, since teams are getting absolutely desperate for quarterback depth. Plus, it clears the runway for our incoming second-year guy, Jalen Milroe, to take over the backup duties behind Sam Darnold. It is a win-win on paper, but losing a guy who knows the system this well is always a gamble that could backfire if the injury bug bites. The Seahawks are sitting on the 8th most salary cap space in the top 51 right now, with $34.1 million available, but the plans to make Jackson Smith-Njigba and Devin Witherspoon historical earners are putting us in a real danger zone. Every penny counts when you are trying to keep young superstars locked down for the long haul. But wait until you hear about the legendary veteran presence that might also be on the chopping block, because this one is going to hurt the locker room culture more than any other move could. We are talking about a guy who has seen it all from the Legion of Boom days to the current dark side defense, and his departure would signal the absolute end of an era in Seattle. Are the Seahawks ready to sacrifice their veteran soul just to balance the books for the new kids on the block, or is there a secret plan to keep the leadership intact while still finding a way to pay those massive extensions that are looming over training camp? Darren Reed is the man we have to talk about when we look at the veteran heart of this defensive line, because he has been the rock for this franchise through multiple eras. Even at 33 years old, Reed is still out there putting up elite numbers and establishing a dominant presence that makes the dark side defense truly terrifying for opposing quarterbacks. He has that old school grit that he brought from the Legion of Boom days, and he has been a mentor for every young pass rusher walking through those doors at the VMAC. But the business side of the NFL is undefeated, and even a legend like Reed is not immune to the post-June 1st cut list. He recently signed a 3-year $25 million extension, but if the Seahawks need to make upgrades to the roster, right now, he becomes a prime candidate for a release. If they let him go after June 1st, the team would save $3.88 million this year, while carrying a dead cap hit of $3.5 million. It is a tough pill to swallow, because we are talking about a guy who is likely headed toward retirement soon anyway, and losing him now would be a massive blow to the locker room chemistry. Reed has always been a fan favorite because of his high motor and his ability to wreck game plans in the trenches. Seeing him in another jersey or forced into an early retirement just to save some cap space for future extensions is the kind of move that keeps general managers up at night. He represents the bridge between our championship past and our hopeful future, and his time in Seattle might be coming to an end much sooner than any of us anticipated. The Seahawks are trying to navigate this transition while staying competitive, but you cannot simply replace 30-80 words of experience and leadership with a rookie contract. This is about more than just stats on a sheet. It is about the identity of the Seattle defense that Reed helped build over his legendary tenure here in the Pacific Northwest. If he goes, the void left behind will be massive, and the pressure on the young guys will skyrocket instantly. The numbers coming out of the front office are absolutely wild when you break down the $14.3 million in total cap space, which currently ranks 9th in the league. While that sounds like a lot of cash, the reality is that the Seahawks are playing a high-stakes game of financial chess to ensure guys like Jackson Smith-Njigba remain the highest-paid non-quarterbacks in history. To make those luxurious contracts work for Smith-Njigba and eventually Devin Witherspoon during training camp, the casualty cuts are becoming an inevitable reality. Let's look at the scenarios here, because if Drew Lock is cut before June 1st, that $2.25 million in savings goes directly into the extension bucket. If Jarran Reed is designated as a post-June 1st cut, the additional $3.88 million in savings gives Seattle over $6 million in extra wiggle room just from 2 players. However, the dead cap hits of $500,000 for Lock and $3.5 million for Reed are the prices we pay for flexibility. Scenario 1 is the Seahawks keep both and hope the current $34 million in top 51 space is enough to cover the rookies and the extensions without touching the veterans. Scenario 2 involves cutting Lock early to solidify the backup role for Milroe and using that cash for a veteran minimum depth piece at another position. Scenario 3 is the nuclear option, where both Lock and Reed are released to maximize every single dollar for the Witherspoon deal, which is expected to be a blockbuster. The data shows that Seattle is trying to stay out of the cap danger zone while still being aggressive in the market. With the 8th most space available, they have the leverage to make moves, but one wrong contract could cripple the future. Fans need to watch the June 1st deadline like a hawk, because that is when the front office will pull the trigger on these fan favorites. If we see Lock leave, it confirms the team is all in on the Sam Darnold and Jalen Milroe era. If Reed is released, it means the youth movement on the defensive line is ahead of schedule. The math is simple, but the emotional impact on the 12s is going to be heavy, as we see these Super Bowl winning pieces potentially moving on to different horizons or hanging up the cleats for good. This is how you build a long-term winner in this league, by making the hard calls before it is too late. Look, man, from an insider perspective, this is exactly what dynasty building looks like, even if it feels like a punch to the gut for the fans in Seattle. You cannot pay everyone, and if you want to keep generational talents like JSN and Witherspoon, you have to be willing to move on from the bridge pieces. Moving on from Drew Lock makes total sense, because Jalen Milroe is the future backup, and that $2 million is way more valuable in a contract extension for a starter. As for Jarran Reed, it is a heartbreaking necessity if it happens. He is a legend, but at 33 years old, you have to wonder if his production will stay elite. The Seahawks are being smart by focusing on their own young core, while they still have the cap health to do it. 9th in the league in cap space is a great position to be in, but it vanishes fast when you start handing out historic deals. I love the aggressive nature of this front office right now. They aren't just sitting back, they are making sure the foundation is solid for the next 5 years. It is a tough business, and seeing fan favorites go is part of the game, but I trust the vision here. We are setting ourselves up to be perennial contenders by prioritizing the young stars over the aging veterans. It is the Seahawks way, and it is going to pay off big time come playoff season when our young studs are leading the charge. That is the breakdown for today, Seattle fans. And it is definitely a lot to process as we head toward training camp. The roster is changing, and the stakes have never been higher for the Hawks. Now I want to hear from you, the real 12s. Do you think the Seahawks should pull the trigger and cut Drew Lock and Jarran Reed just to save that cap space? Or should we find another way to keep our veterans in the building? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because I read every single one of them, and I want to know where the heartbeat of the city is on this. If you enjoyed this deep dive and want more exclusive Seahawks content that you won't find anywhere else, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. We are on the road to the Super Bowl, and we want you right here with us for every single step of the journey. Don't forget to hit that bell so you are the first to know when the next bomb drops. Thanks for watching, and as always, go Hawks!